Good evening, everyone. This is Dawn Dinger, and welcome to the ASEA Vision Call. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you the host of tonight's call, Alan Noble. Alan is originally from Ireland and now living in Dallas, Texas. And Alan has been in the health and wellness industry for almost 2 decades. Since discovering ASEA, Alan has served on the ASEA Advisory Council and became the first recipient of the prestigious I Am ASEA Award for his dedication and passion in sharing the remarkable ASEA story across North America and now Europe. It is with great pleasure to introduce to you this evening Mr. Alan Noble.
Well, thank you, Dawn, for that kind introduction, and welcome everybody to the call. We have a very special call lined up for you tonight, but before we get started, I would like to welcome all of our ASEA associates who tune into this call on a regular basis, but in particular, I'd like to offer a very warm welcome to all of our brand new guests who are perhaps listening to this information for the very first time. And perhaps you're here because somebody whispered in your ear that they had stumbled across the most powerful health technology on the planet, or that they had discovered the single greatest health science breakthrough of the century. And now here you are on this call, ready to learn more. Now, before we go any further, I want to talk about this word breakthrough. It is perhaps one of the most overused, overhyped words when it comes to talking about new products. Along with revolutionary this or most powerful that, when we hear these words, we tend to put up our defenses. Let's face it, there is a lot of spin out there, and we're constantly being bombarded by all sorts of very exciting messages. So I want to assure you that in the next few minutes, you're about to be exposed to what I believe is a breakthrough by the true meaning of the word. So I think a good place to start is to get really clear on what ASEA is not. It is not a vitamin or mineral supplement. It's not an antioxidant formula, and it's most certainly not an exotic juice made from fruits and berries from around the world. When we talk about ASEA and the ASEA breakthrough, we're not talking about simply adding an ingredient to an existing formula. We're not talking about an extension to something that already exists. We're talking about cutting-edge health technology on a whole new frontier of science. ASEA is literally a category creator, a product that stands in a class all by itself. So when people ask me, well, how does ASEA compare to this product or that product? Guys, it doesn't. It is an entirely different category and class of product. In fact, my favorite thing to say about ASEA is that we have literally achieved what science had said was impossible. So what is ASEA? Well, it's the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. Now, I realize at this stage that may not mean a whole lot to you, even though I'd spent almost 2 decades around the world of health and wellness. When I first heard the words redox signaling and redox signaling molecules, I had no idea what it all meant. But because of personal family circumstances, I was on a very aggressive search looking for the most powerful health technology that I could possibly find. I was looking for something that could tap into and harness the incredible healing potential that I believe lies inside each and every one of us. And that search led me to hear about redox signaling molecules and ASEA. And I was so intrigued by what I was hearing that 5 days later I flew to ASEA corporate headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. I got to meet 2 remarkable businessmen and co-founders of ASEA, Vertus Norton and James Pack, as well as the smartest man that I have ever sat in a room with, Dr. Gary Samuelson, who holds a PhD in atomic and medical physics. And between these 3 men, they opened up this exciting world of redox signaling and redox signaling molecules. And I have to tell you, I knew that I was hearing about a health technology that was not only very powerful, but a true breakthrough. So over the next few minutes, I want to share with you some of the information that was shared with me in that first meeting. And it all starts with a very simple but powerful concept that goes like this. We live and die at the cellular level. If your cells are healthy, then you are healthy. And yet we tend to go through life thinking about having a healthy heart, healthy liver, healthy brain, healthy lungs, when in fact we should really be thinking about having healthy heart cells, liver cells, brain cells, lung cells. You could say that the quality of your life is determined by the health of your cells. So you are the sum total of your 75 trillion cells. And I want you to imagine that these cells are like little bags of salt water. And inside the cells, there's thousands of mitochondria, little electrical power plants that make your body's natural source of energy, ATP. And as this energy production is going on, the mitochondria is also spinning out 2 sets of molecules. One set are known as reductants, and the other set are known as oxidants. And you've probably guessed it, together these are redox signaling molecules. Now for the longest time, scientists thought these redox molecules were just unnecessary waste products, like a byproduct of energy production. I kind of think of exhaust fumes coming out of the back of a car. However, in the last decade, there has been a shift, a paradigm shift in our understanding of just how important these molecules are. In fact, scientists now understand that these molecules, far from being unnecessary byproducts, are in fact absolutely foundational. They are fundamental and critical to our cellular function and efficiency in helping our cells work like they're supposed to. And so this has become such an important discovery that the science of redox signaling, or redox biochemistry as it's called, is now one of the fastest growing areas of science. Just in the last few years, over 7,500 studies on redox signaling have been published in peer-reviewed scientific and medical journals. Studies that have been conducted at prestigious universities and research institutions around the world. And these studies show what they clearly demonstrate is that these redox signaling molecules are involved in supporting virtually every major system and function in the body. Now, two of the most exciting areas of discovery are the role that these molecules play in cell-to-cell communication, as well as antioxidant protection. In fact, we sometimes call the molecules immune system communicators and antioxidant activators. And we're going to talk in more detail about these two areas a little later in the call. But for now, let's just continue with the list. These studies have also shown that redox signaling molecules help the cells become more permeable, helping the transfer of nutrients into the cells and the transfer of waste out of the cells. They're also involved in the fight against viruses and bacteria, as well as pain and nervous system function, oxidative stress reduction, anti-inflammatory support, joint and muscle support, cardiovascular function, mental cognition, digestive health, and even to the profound depths of genetic expression. These molecules reach into virtually every single aspect of our cellular health. And so hopefully you're beginning to see why the science of redox signaling has become such a rapidly growing area of study in the world of health and wellness. Now, when you take this basic information that we live and die at the cellular level and that redox signaling molecules are foundational to your cellular health, you may say, well, what's all the fuss about? My cells are making these molecules, everything's working nicely. Why are we discussing this on a conference call? Well, there are two major challenges that each and every one of us face, and the first one goes like this. Since the day you were born, your cells have been under attack, whether it's pollution and toxins, poor food choices, bacteria and viruses, pharmaceutical drugs, sun damage, emotional stress, even the everyday wear and tear that we get as we go through life. Any breakdown in your cell's ability to protect themselves, to detect damage and then repair or replace themselves, any breakdown in your cellular efficiency, and you begin to lose these daily battles. Now, unfortunately, the second challenge is that as we age, we've got less mitochondria, less of these little electrical power plants. And of course, that means you're producing less of these vital molecules. And as a result, we experience a decrease in our cellular efficiency and our ability to win these daily battles. So a little healthy baby is born with about 100% cell efficiency. The bumps, the scrapes, the bruises, it's amazing how fast they heal. Even at 8, 9, 10 years of age and into early teens, kids can run around the garden all day long and they don't wake up the next morning and say, oh, my back's aching, I'm not doing that again. But as we get older, with less of these molecules being made in our cells just don't work as well as they did when we were younger. So by the time we hit 70 years of age, our cells may only be functioning at around 10% efficiency. Now, I want to put this in perspective. If your diet is deficient in vitamins and minerals, there's 101 wonderful supplements to choose from, and that's a great idea. But we're now talking about something much more important, much more profound. This goes way deeper beyond nutrition, beyond ingredients, to the very molecules that help your cells function properly. But you see, science had declared that it was impossible to create and stabilize redox signaling molecules outside of the body. You see, these molecules are very reactive in nature. They have very short lifespans. Think of them as fleeting angels in the cells. And the body uses them for their purposes, and then they're gone. So until now, there was no way to restore or replenish these amazing little molecules back into our cells. And I say until now, because here is the ASEA breakthrough. After 17 years, millions of dollars of research and multiple patents, the scientists behind ASEA, led by Dr. Gary Samuelson, achieved the impossible. They figured out how to create and then stabilize these powerful redox signaling molecules outside of the body in perfect balance as they're found in healthy cells. And they created the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. And they used nothing more than salt and water. Now, when people first learn of ASEA, usually the very first question they ask is, well, why do you make it out of salt and water? Well, the answer is simple. Think back to your cells. They're little bags of salt water. That's exactly what the mitochondria is making these molecules from. So in many ways, we're mimicking the mitochondrial process outside the body. So starting with very pure sodium chloride in distilled water and passing it through a complex, heavily patented 3-day process, redox signaling molecules are created and stabilized outside the body. And ASEA was born. Now, forgive me for repeating myself here, but I want to make sure that you're absolutely crystal clear on what we're talking about. Sometimes people miss this the first time round. Do not make the mistake of thinking ASEA is just a bottle of salt water. ASEA contains trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of these very powerful redox signaling molecules that were created from a process that begins with salt and water. I also want to point something else out here. Because we're talking about molecules that already exist inside your cells, we've created a supplement that goes beyond all natural and is in fact native to the body. Now let me explain. A blueberry is all natural, but your body does not contain or make blueberries. But your body does contain and make these molecules, and they're native to your cells. So we have millions of dollars of research to prove that ASEA demonstrates 0 levels of toxicity, even when consumed at very high quantities, making it perhaps the safest supplement ever to be introduced into the health and wellness industry. And just to make it abundantly clear just how unique this product is, there are only 2 places that these molecules exist: inside living cells, and that includes human, animal, and plant cells, and inside every single bottle of ASEA. Okay, at this point, I'd like to go a little bit deeper and take a closer look at the 2 sets of molecules that are made inside your cells and are contained in every bottle of ASEA. So the first set of molecules, the reductant molecules, we call antioxidant activators. Now, antioxidants have been the buzzword in health for over 2 decades. And of course, we know that antioxidants are important when it comes to protecting ourselves from free radical damage and aging. Or to put it another way, they're important when it comes to protecting our bodies from rusting. Yet here's part of the story you have not been told. Without a plentiful supply of these molecules, your antioxidants are in fact absolutely useless. Think of a light bulb sitting in the palm of your hand. It's just a useless piece of glass. It's only when that light bulb is activated, it's only when it's lit up and fueled with electricity that it becomes one of the greatest inventions of modern times. Well, it's the same with your antioxidants. They have the potential to be the guardians and defenders of your cells. They have the potential to slow down the rusting process of aging. But they have to be activated with these powerful signaling molecules. And studies have shown that ASEA increases antioxidant effectiveness by a massive 500%. And we're not just talking about antioxidants found in fruits and berries. We're talking about firing up the most powerful antioxidants known to man, glutathione, superoxide dismutase. These master antioxidants are made inside your cells and are thousands of times more powerful than vitamin C. So although there's no actual antioxidants in ASEA, its impact on antioxidant health is nothing short of staggering. The second set of molecules, the oxidant molecules, we often call immune system communicators. And here I want you to think of your body as the most complex communication network on the planet. Every second of every day, your cells are passing tremendous amounts of information, of vital information within the cells, cells to cells, and throughout your entire body, including the immune system. Any breakdown in this communication would be like trying to have a very important conversation on a cell phone with a weak signal. So when it comes to your health, it is critical that your cells are able to convey their important messages for health and healing with absolute clarity and precision. And redox signaling molecules are fundamental to this process. Now, at this point, you might be saying, hey, I love the sound of those antioxidant activators. Give me 2 bottles of your activators and 1 bottle of your communicators. Guys, it doesn't work like that. Like so many things in life, balance is the key. So think of a car. If you've got the left tires fully inflated and the right tires flat, or vice versa, the car's not going to drive very well. It's only when the tires are equally inflated that the car is going to drive efficiently. Well, it's the same with your cells. It's only when these molecules are in balance, that's when your cells are empowered to achieve their full health and healing potential. And remember, the scientists behind ASEA created and stabilized these molecules in perfect balance as they're found in healthy cells. Now, before I introduce our special guest on tonight's call, I have to mention another aspect of ASEA. We knew what ASEA was doing for people's health. What we didn't know was what it was going to do for athletic performance. But very quickly, athletes began to report that they were running further, faster, longer. They were experiencing increased strength, better endurance, faster recovery, all the things that are important to athletic performance. And we first began to see this with endurance sports such as marathon runners, long-distance cyclists, and triathletes. However, as ASEA spread across the athletic world in general, we are now seeing tremendous benefits in pretty much every kind of sport out there, from swimming to soccer, basketball to baseball, golf to lifting weights in the gym. And now ASEA has embarked on a series of double-blind studies at one of the finest research facilities in the world to scientifically validate the remarkable ASEA breakthrough and its impact on human health and performance. Now look, if ASEA was just about scientific theory, that would be one thing. But ASEA is a high-impact product that gets results. In fact, it's our experience that 50% of people will notice benefits within the first 4 weeks. And then a total of 90% of people will notice improvements within the first 3 months. And the great news is that ASEA offers a 30-day unconditional empty bottle money-back guarantee. So there really is no risk when it comes to improving your health or athletic performance. Okay, at this point of the call, I usually like to have 3 or 4 people share their ASEA experiences, what the product's done for them and how it's impacted their life. But today we're going to do something a little different. I have 3 very special guests lined up. In fact, they are all healthcare professionals. And we are going to start up in Washington State. Dr. Dan Hartley, did you join us on the call?
Yes, I did, Alan. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, Dr. Hartley, you began your medical career as a medic and instructor in the United States Army. You then attended Podiatric College in Chicago and completed a surgical residency training and went into private practice in Washington State, where you practiced medicine for several years. And then you went through a career change, which led you into the arena of clinical trial drug studies for pharmaceutical research. And for the last 20 years, you have functioned as a monitor and auditor for most of the major U.S. pharmaceutical companies. Now, this is a very interesting and diverse background. Could you share a little bit about how you were introduced to ASEA and your unique perspective that you have on it?
Sure, I'd be happy to. One of the companies that I was working for several years ago was doing research on redox biochemistry and the signaling molecules that are in the ASEA product. I also knew that they were having difficulty stabilizing the molecules because when the redox signaling molecules are exposed to the atmosphere and room temperature, they would denature in a short period of time and become useless. They would become like just regular salt water after time. And so that was the big problem that not only my company, but everybody else around the United States and around the world that was doing research in this area, that was the difficulty they were all having too. Nobody could figure out how to stabilize the molecules. So I went on to other projects, and I know my company did too, and I had not thought much about it over the last 8 or 10 years and until I was introduced to the redox signaling molecules by a really good friend of mine who lives on the East Coast, another physician, and he told me the whole story. I couldn't wait to get it into the hands of 3 people, and when I saw what the ASEA did for them in a short period of time, this quickly became an obligation for me to share this with other people. And, I tell people that I had the advantage of knowing a little bit about this before ASEA was ever even stabilized, but that's really, Alan, when you talk about the miracle of this, the fact that Dr. Samuelson and his group discovered and figured out a way to stabilize the molecules when no one else could. And, now we're able to consume ASEA, and it's bioactive, and it's so stable that you can freeze it or boil it, has a long shelf life. Once you see what it does and can do for so many things because of the simplicity of what it does at the cell level, when you know that in your heart, it's something that you have to share with people.
Absolutely. Dr. Hartley, thank you for joining us on the call and sharing your very unique perspective on these amazing little molecules. Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Alan. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to stay in Washington State, but this time we are going to go to Spokane. Dr. Carl Smith, did you join us on the call?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Alan.
Now, Dr. Smith, you are a well-respected chiropractor in Spokane. You run a very successful practice for 21 years up there. And I hear that you were somewhat skeptical when you were first introduced into ASEA. I think perhaps you thought it was another one of those things. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Thanks, Alan. I had a patient who approached me with ASEA, and she was very passionate and excited about it. And I got to tell you, I'm approached like that, probably at least 2 or 3 times a month with the latest and greatest thing in the natural world. And I basically told her, listen, I've been in practice for 20 years. My practice had grown every year for 20 years at that point. And I wasn't really looking for, something new to sell in my office, and I definitely wasn't looking for an opportunity. And I told her, hey, if you're still excited about this 5 or 6 months from now, come back and see me. Well, she came back on a regular basis with just as much excitement and just as much passion. And finally, 15 months later, I went to a presentation, and I learned about ASEA. And I got to tell you, what I saw as a healer, it changed me. And so I walked away from that meeting, and I told my patient, I said, hey, I don't want to buy any of this yet, but I'm going to go home and research this and find out what it is. So I went home, and I studied redox signaling. I went to school 21 years ago. Redox signaling hadn't been discovered yet, so it opened up a whole new field of science to me, something I knew nothing about. And after my research, I basically understood that these little signaling molecules are the essence of the body's ability to heal at the cellular level. And for the first time in the history of the world, if we could supplement with that, we could enhance that ability to heal at the cellular level. So I called her up and I said, hey, if this truly is what they say it is, I think this is going to change the world. And she said, well, what do you think I've been trying to tell you for the last 15 months?
Isn't it amazing when we talk about a technology that science said was impossible, that has now become possible, and how that transfers into people's lives? Things that were considered impossible, we're now seeing changes taking place that are very much possible. Very, very exciting. Now, just to switch gears quickly, I know that you work with some high-level athletes in Washington State, and of course we've already mentioned on this call that these amazing little molecules can impact endurance and recovery and are having a huge impact on athletic and sports. But what have you seen specifically in your practice?
Well, I have a friend who's a physical therapist, and he's an Ironman triathlete. He's done 18 Ironman, and after his 17th one, he was ready to quit. He was taking ibuprofen by the handfuls, and the training was just taking a toll on his body. He got on ASEA 6 weeks before his last one, his last Ironman, and at age 50, he was able to take 58 minutes and 30 seconds off his time from 49 to 50 years old. But the thing that was the most miraculous to him was his recovery. Normally, an Ironman triathlete wipes him out for a long time. He was back to work 2 days later. He was back to training 3 days later, and he was back to competing 2 weeks later. And he was able to do 9 events where he had 9 personal records at 50 years old in this last racing season. And these records go back to the records that he had set for himself back in his 20s.
Isn't that amazing? So here's a man getting older, and yet he's performing as if he's getting younger. Absolutely astonishing. And of course, we always like to say, look, whether you're a high-level athlete or you're just kind of functioning and moving through life, at the end of the day, we're all athletes.
That's right. It's kind of like my dad. Now I know why my dad, who's 79 years old, he's got a 320 acres and a big wood stove that he heats his house with. So during the summer, he's out cutting down trees and throwing the back of his truck and stacking them and splitting them, getting ready for winter. Normally at 79, when he does that, it affects him for about 3 days to a week where he's pretty sore. Now he can go out and cut wood all day long now that he's on ASEA, and the next day he goes to bed tired that night, but he wakes up in the morning and he's not sore the next morning. And that's the difference ASEA is making in his life.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for joining us on the call, and really appreciate your time and your now passion for these amazing little molecules. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, to help me wrap up this call, we're going to go to Kentucky. Dr. Ward, did you join us on the line?
I'm here, Alan.
Now, Dr. Ward, you are a board-certified family physician in your 30th year of practice, and you hold a medical degree from the University of Illinois, and you completed your residency in family medicine at the University of Cincinnati. And 16 years ago, you began including complementary and alternative medicine in your work, and this includes advanced training in functional medicine, and I believe you currently own and operate a practice in addiction medicine with your wife, Patty, in Richmond, Kentucky. But I think what's most special to us here on this call is that you hold a prestigious position on the ASEA Science Advisory Board. Now, let me ask you this question. Given your unique and close perspective with ASEA, what excites you most about this product?
Well, Alan, during the last 2 years, as I've been sharing this product with patients and working closely with Dr. Samuelson, there are basically two pivotal issues that make this ASEA breakthrough really remarkable and really what you would call a true breakthrough, something that's penetrated very solid biological scientific barriers. So the first issue is related to the very talented and intellectually gifted atomic and medical physicist Dr. Gary Samuelson. Dr. Samuelson is recognized as an expert in medical physics and has developed advanced techniques in nanotechnology that have had a profound impact on the field of medicine. He has been an award-winning college professor, a leader in his community and his church, and I've been privileged to work side by side with him as we have extended the scientific reach of ASEA and spearheaded initiatives that are leading the world to the new developments of understanding redox biochemistry. I have marveled at his ingenuity along with his breadth of knowledge, and I'm not surprised one bit that he and the scientific team that he headed up developed this process that accomplished in 2008 what was literally impossible, that being stabilizing redox molecules that are inherently highly unstable outside the body that can exist in that bottle of ASEA. In the second issue is just that this emergence of this new science-based cell and molecular biology health technology. When I first learned of ASEA, I knew that if there were actually redox signaling molecules in the ASEA bottle, then we had accessed a molecular product that would touch our bodies at such a deep level that we could actually provide support to the machinery in our cells, not just to the cells. In other words, we could assist support at a molecular level to our DNA repair, membrane transport systems, and cellular communication. This is the first new health technology in 30 years. So ASEA is leading the way with physiological and performance-based clinical research in this new area of science. The corporation is fully committed to promote this product and the science with clinical scientific studies. We have developed a 3-year roadmap with the ASEA Science Advisory Council, and I see a very, very exciting future with this breakthrough product.
Dr. Ward, thank you so much for joining us on the call, and thank you for all of your work on the Science Advisory Council of ASEA, helping us take this incredible health technology to the world as we change lives. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Alan.
You know, I started this call, I talked about a breakthrough, a category creator, a product that stands in a class all by itself, literally the impossible becoming possible. And after listening to our doctors, there should be no doubt that you are discovering a true breakthrough. But I want to stress something here. We do not make any medical claims for ASEA. It is not a treatment or cure for any disease or medical condition. Simply put, you live and die at the cellular level. And science has now discovered that redox signaling molecules that are made inside your cells are absolutely foundational to your cellular health. However, as you get older, you begin to experience deficiencies, you begin to experience imbalances, and you begin to experience a breakdown in your cellular efficiency. In other words, your cells' ability to protect themselves, to detect damage, and then to repair or replace themselves becomes less efficient. And so for the first time in the history of mankind, we can restore, refuel, replenish, even rebalance our cells with these amazing little molecules and help our cells work like they did when we were younger, help our cells work like they were designed to. You could say in many ways, ASEA does nothing, but it empowers your cells to do everything. And that is the most powerful kind of supplement you could ever hope to discover. You know, we've gone a little long in this call, and by now you should have a pretty clear idea as to what ASEA is. But I'd love to take just a couple more minutes and explain who ASEA is. Now, Vertus Norton and James Pack, the co-founders of ASEA, brought a very powerful but unfinished technology from a struggling biotech company. And this was purely a business play, as the end goal was to sell it to a pharmaceutical company. Now, they brought in Dr. Gary Samuelson, our atomic medical physicist, to figure out how to take this technology to a new level. And Dr. Samuelson soon achieved the greatest breakthrough of all, as he figured out how to stabilize these very reactive, fleeting molecules. So knowing the product was very safe, there was no toxicity, they wanted to see if people would actually drink the molecules. So they started with a small test group of about 40 people, friends, family, church members, next door neighbors, etc. And they came back 2 months later to see how they were getting on. And they were amazed to discover that 40 people had actually grown into 135 people in 20 different countries. Now, in the meantime, a pharmaceutical company had flown into Salt Lake City and put a multi-million-dollar offer on the table with one condition. Every single person who was drinking the molecules had to stop. Now, this led to a very serious dilemma for Vertus and Jim. They began to hear how these molecules were impacting people's lives, and it became very clear to them that this was more than just a business play. They felt a genuine responsibility to allow people to continue to drink the product, and a real sense of obligation began to stir in them that the world had to know that this powerful redox signaling technology now existed. And so these men of principle and purpose said no to the payout and yes to the people. Now, something you should know about Vertus Norton is that he spent a career working alongside CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. He is considered one of the finest strategic business minds in corporate America. So after analyzing the question, well, how do we tell the world about this? It became very clear to Vertus and Jim that the only way to get this never-before-seen technology to the masses was not going to be through traditional retail, but instead through simple word-of-mouth recommendation. Just like the original 40 people growing to 135 people. And so in September 2010, Vertus and Jim officially launched ASEA. And already we've now grown into tens of thousands of passionate ASEA representatives and customers right across North America and into Europe. And it's been said by CEO Tyler Norton that the single greatest act of friendship that you can extend to someone is to reach out and share the remarkable ASEA story with them. So look, I would encourage you, get back to the person who invited you onto this call and thank them for sharing this important information with you. This is Alan Noble in Dallas, Texas, thanking you for your valuable time this evening, and bye for now. Hi, this is Alan Noble again, and you've just listened to a recording of a special conference call that I recently hosted in the United States. And in order to get this information out to as many people as possible, I decided to put this recording on a CD. And then it occurred to me that as you were listening to this information, perhaps names and faces of people who you love and care about came into your mind. And I just wanted to encourage you, pass this CD on to them. Give it to someone who you think deserves to hear that this technology exists. And you know what's amazing? You might just impact somebody in a very profound way to be a real blessing in their life. So once again, thank you for your time today, and thank you for your interest in ASEA.